Okay, welcome to part 3 of the video series on painting the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures Storm King's Thunder Giant. So a couple quick things that I'm going to do is, before I get too much further, I had to go back and mix up a little bit more of the Malefic Flesh from the Vallejo Fairy and Malefic Flesh set series to just make the base coat a little more solid. And then next up, for the moment while I'm waiting for that to just finish drying, oh my gosh, Freddy Fly is helping me paint today, so, or maybe it's Flyzell, I don't know, but so I'm going to take some surface primer here from Vallejo and just a little bit of regular black for the undercarriage, and then I've got this acrylic gloss black for the things that I'm going to paint in metallic. So that would be his chainmail here underneath and his sword, at least the blade on his sword. Actually, his whole sword here. Okay, so I'm going to start with putting the primer on. I'm just going to use a this brush has been through, seen some things. Craft Smart, probably came from like Joann's or something. It's just an old brush. And when I said the undercarriage, I meant like down here, sort of on the underside of his tunic, because I feel like that's a good color to paint for these areas here. Being very careful not to get it on the transparent sort of lightning spell effect as best as I can. But what if some does get on there? Right? What are we gonna do? Well, in that case, I would grab a wet brush and I would just dab it up as best as I could immediately with the wet brush, and then possibly get another brush to soak it up, or a paper towel, whatever I could find. So I know it's really hard to see, but just gonna do my best to get this primer in there. And sorry, I'm not on camera. I realize that. I'm just doing just the most delicate of processes here. So that's just about it for the undercarriage. All right, so next up is the sword. Yeah, that helps. Okay, so the sword and the chainmail are going to get the gloss black primer from Vallejo, and yeah, like I said, it just really looks good with off camera again. Just really looks good with any metallics. So this particular gloss black primer does a great job with the Vallejo Metallics line, And I'm not using the one from their game paint for this. This would be, I feel like, a really good one to use with the airbrush. And normally I would airbrush this on, but I kind of don't want to get it all over everything. And I'm not that great with the airbrush to the extent that I can mitigate splash damage with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on as thick as I can here, and hopefully it'll self-level. It may take more than one coat. Yeah, putting this on with the airbrush is definitely ideal. So yeah. Now I have done this before in smaller miniatures, and it's worked out well. But I've never tried it on anything this scale. I've never used this black gloss primer on a miniature of this size, and I am slightly concerned that the brush strokes will show through. But I'm not ready to I'm not ready to abandon hope. In this case, ideally, you would go ahead and mask off the sections of the miniature that you didn't want to hit with the primer and the airbrush, and then use an airbrush on this. But to be honest, I'm not really painting for competition here. I'm just trying to get this miniature on the table. I mean, that's my goal. Okay. As I had previously suspected, I'm going to need a little more of this gloss black primer. Especially when it comes to the chainmail. But this is something else. Okay. Sorry. I feel like it's giving me a lot less of a hassle putting it on the chainmail than it is putting on the sword. Excuse me. So these giants in the campaign, the Storm King's Thunder campaign, are all doing their own thing. And the Storm Giants, who used to be in charge, are just kind of falling by the wayside. Their leader's missing. have fallen to his daughters to run the kingdom while he's gone, or now that he's gone. And it's kind of tragic. The daughters, not only now that their father is missing, but their mother is been recently killed as well. And the storm giants are good in nature. They are alignment. Their alignment is a good-natured alignment, unlike some of the other evil giants, hill giants, frost giants. They're not BFGs. They're not big friendly giants. So all right, I am doing my best here with this gloss black primer to apply it. Like I said, it's not as easy as I'd like it to be here using the brush. I should be using an airbrush for this. There's no question. But if you're wondering, why I would use a primer when these Nolzur's miniatures come already primed, that's a very fair question to ask, I would say. And I'll tell you, the reason why is because this gloss black primer really looks great with this metal line, the metal color from Vallejo. And these are airbrush colors as well. And like I said, I've tried it before on smaller miniatures with brush and gotten it to work. But that's not saying that on a miniature of this size that's gonna work either. So I just kind of nicked it with some of the black primer there, and then when I went to wipe it off, the base coat came up with it. Oh my. Oh my. Whatever have I done? So okay. So at least got most of it now covered with the primer. I'm doing my best to get it to the tabletop, and I know that it's worth these extra steps for the metallics to really pop. But besides that, I'm not going too above and beyond with this one. We'll see. We will see how far I get as far as details and layering. I would love to do more oftentimes, but time, it's a precious commodity, and I just don't have as much as I did when I was a kid. When I was growing up, I just had so much time. just play video games all I wanted, I feel like. Of course, I never felt like I could at the time. But now, in retrospect, I feel like, boy, how lucky. So, these storm giants are the leaders kind of the giants, and but the actual leader, King Hecaton, is missing, and the party has to find him. That's what they've been tasked with. So that's why we're painting this guy up, because the storm giants are just now coming into play in the campaign that I'm running. Oh, I think one more drop of this black primer. And the nice thing, I'm a little concerned about the brush strokes with the gloss black primer, right? Like, I'm definitely getting some visible brush strokes that I can see. As it's drying, it does seem to be self-leveling a little bit. It's getting more and more smooth. But I think the effect's going to be all right, even if there are brush strokes there. Between the elements, the steel, these metal Vallejo paints, I think that it's going to be possible to make it look like Valerian steel, I guess, is kind of the effect. So it'll just kind of look like it's been several times forged, and hopefully that'll be a bonus, a little texture, make it interesting. Okay. Yeah. So just a little, oh my gosh, a little bit more here, and safe to say I can let this dry while I switch over to adding the next layer of paint on the flesh. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the effect is going to work out just fine, I think, and the base coat should be dry enough on the skin to continue working there. So I'm going to switch over to that. I'm going to wash off my brush, and I'm going to begin the next layers of paint using pale flesh. And I think I'm actually going to switch over to the airbrush for the pale flesh highlights on the skin. So, yep, that's coming up in part 4.